the communication out there I thought was good on the defensive side. And then offensively, I thought, you contribute you talk about the offensive line. I thought they all contributed in the run and the pass game and did a solid job. And it's just a different feeling when you got to get ready to play a game. It's different than camp. So get yourself prepared, kind of feel that little burn that you get in there and competitive burn and where you got to raise it up a notch.
That was Chiefs head coach Andy Reid after the team's preseason opener, a 38-17 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals at Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday night. Earlier today, it's Sunday, August the 11th, the A-team of Brooke Pryor, Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, and I broke down the game in a conversation that first appeared on Facebook Live, but with the magic touch of our producer, Kathy Liu, that conversation is now a Sports Beat KC podcast sponsored by Big O Tires. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Here's what Brooke, Sam, Vahe, and the group had to say about the game, and stay tuned through the end to hear from a local player who scored a touchdown on Saturday, Josh Caldwell.
I almost said hello from St. Joe because that's what I've been saying every day for the last 2 weeks. But actually, hello from Arrowhead. We are here. The Chiefs played something like a football game a couple hours ago, which means that it's time for us to do something like a post-game Facebook Live. We've got Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, Blair Kirchhoff, and me, Brooke Pryor. And we're ready to break down some actual football that we saw played here tonight. It was actual for like 15 minutes, and that's generous. Let's start off with the quarterback, because I don't think any of us wrote a whole story about him tonight, because that's just how tonight went. But he did have some pretty hilarious quotes after the game, talking about he had a 10-yard scramble where he stopped just short of the goal line, where he kind of thought the better of it, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't dive across the goal line in the preseason. Sam, what was your favorite Patrick Mahomes moment tonight of the 4 passes we saw him throw and 6 plays he was in there?
Yeah, I mean, the best pass was the first one, right? I mean, that was perfectly placed.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It
was a good route, out and up by Kelsey down the left sideline, but it was just a perfectly placed ball.
The defender, I guess was a linebacker, didn't notice that Kelsey had caught the ball until Kelsey had taken 2 steps.
Yeah, the head turn, it was funny head turn. I don't know if the ball sailed right over, but he was clearly lost.
Didn't you have a sense they might come out in something big on the first play? Yeah. Andy's done that before in preseason openers.
Yeah. I think he's done it almost routinely, it seems like now. I mean, I remember when Jeremy Maclin came here, the first play was deep to Maclin. Yeah. I have to think, maybe, was the Falcons the first preseason game last year?
No, it was a game here against Houston. But I think
that's right.
One of the years, Tyreek Hill, I think, was streaking, and I don't think they hit him, but they attempted to hit him.
Yeah,
So yeah.
It was a nice little exclamation point to start there. You're like, hey, remember, we have the MVP. And it was a good time for it, too, because the defense, as we'll get into in a minute, looked a little 2018-ish out there in their first drive, and so it was nice to see the offense also look 2018-ish.
Well, there were a couple things that stuck out, and I guess it won't be lost on each other that we were all talking during the game, but there were a couple things that stuck out early, resembling the final drive we saw here last season. I think the only difference in the drive was 13 plays, 75 yards in overtime last year, and 14-75 here. I might be the only person who thought this, but I was a little jarred seeing Tano, I think, lined up offside on the play that seemed to be a turnover. And I haven't had a chance to pull up that replay, but I really thought he was lined up offside. And
You've seen ghosts of offsides.
I got some response on Twitter saying, too soon, but I was nowhere near. I was trying to make a point that I think was constructive. I was nowhere near as brazen as whatever it was you wrote that you included the parentheses ducks. Yeah. What was it you said?
Well, they won the coin toss.
You went right at it.
That was an improvement.
You just exercised some demons really early tonight.
Well, the last time we saw him in this stadium, was that night.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we were sitting at this very table right afterwards. So.
A little colder.
Yeah,
it was a lot colder. Yeah.
One last thing about Patrick, though, just you do try to figure out why is it that coaches do this, right? They play him a series and then you're out. And Andy he didn't say too much in his post-game news conference, but I liked the way he phrased it tonight. I mean, he sort of made a point of saying, look, you just want to get the competitive juices going a little. He didn't use that word, but it's different to prepare for a game and just kind of get a taste and be thinking that way. And it made sense the way he said it. I mean, otherwise, you always do kind of wonder, like, get out there to stretch and throw a couple times. What's the point? But it made sense to me the way Andy phrased it.
Although, it's interesting because I talked with Tyrann Mathieu afterward. Not only was Mahomes on a pretty close snap count, the defensive starters were on an even shorter leash. And Mathieu kind of sounded a little frustrated that I think he played 2 snaps. And then he was out.
The interception came on the second. The interception that didn't stand came on the second play.
Well, the fumble.
The fumble. That's right.
The fumble and turnover. Fumble recovery.
Yeah, and
that was it. He came out right after that play.
Yeah. A handful of starters came out right after that.
He was ready to get out of the locker room afterward, and he still, to his credit, came back, stopped, talked with us. And it was fantastic. But you could kind of tell that, because I asked him, was that the plan going in? And he said, I was told we were getting a quarter. And all of a sudden it was 2 plays and you're done.
Already dissension in the locker room.
I know.
It's ripping this team apart. I did think if that play had stood, it took an official's review to overturn it. The ball was awarded to the Chiefs. The Bengals got it back. That kind of would have changed the tone of the night. The defense on the second play comes up with a big turnover and ready to go and punch it in, and maybe Cincinnati doesn't go 75 yards on the next possession or something, and you can feel better about first-team defense. But I've said it a couple times now. I do think that it's going to take a while for this defense to be right. And they're playing against a good quarterback, a Pro Bowl quarterback, and Andy Dalton. So he was terrific on that first series.
But back to the thing that started this, and I don't know if in being around him or anybody else that came away with any more of an understanding, but why 2 plays?
I don't know.
In the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter, but it just seems odd.
It was jarring, I think, for them and for us. That and for the fans who wanted to see more of, well, what can this defense really do? And I feel like we didn't really get a good measuring stick. Because, not only were Frank Clark and Alex Okafor out, but still, I think you wanted to see more of Tyrann Mathieu, and you wanted to see some of the packages with the first string still available. But why do you even warm up if you're going to play 2 snaps and then you sit?
Yeah, and certainly the offense made the change after the first drive, after the first possession. And I had to give grades after the game. And what do you give a coach on a game like this? I gave him an A for getting Mahomes the hell out of the game. You basically played 6 plays or whatever that first drive was for the Chiefs, and that was it for Mahomes. And good move.
And Andy did joke about that he pulled Mahomes because of the run. I mean, and he kind of deadpanned it, and it was seemingly pretty clear he was joking. But there may be a talking point again in the when we want you to run and not.
I'll tell you who got the short thrift tonight was Chad Henne.
I was flipping through these stats to count how many plays he had, but it was not many. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He didn't start.
He had 5,
and he didn't start the second.
He didn't start the second. All of a sudden, we have Kyle Shermer coming out there. So that was a little confusing. But yeah, poor Chad Henne.
Do you think there's some backlash from the Sam McDowell story the other day?
Oh, I bet that's it. You know what? They're like, Henne's getting a little too much pub. Let's bring him back down to earth. This guy seems like he has a huge ego. So let's put him in check by starting Kyle Shermer in the third quarter or in the second quarter.
Well, anyway.
Can I say, I'm all for that. Like, we don't need Chad Henne. You know what I mean? Like, if Chad Henne's going to play, we're this conversation takes
a different kind of season.
Very different turn. So why not give, Litton and Shermer, a little bit more look, so who can be the number 3 and then be the Chad Henne in a couple years? I kind of dig it. Chad Henne's place is in that room. Like, hey, I remember 4 years ago when we were playing this team and they tried to do this one thing, and I don't have a rocket arm and I'm not like, a unicorn quarterback. But if I was, this is one thing that I could do. I feel like that is Chad Henne's role.
But here, since we're going to talk about backup quarterbacks, let's go ahead and get into the Kyle Shermer and Chase Litton debate. Yeah. Do you think, after watching Kyle Shermer tonight and then watching Chase Litton got a whole half to play, so that's exciting for him. Where are we in this battle right now? Is Kyle Shermer going to take Chase Litton's practice squad spot?
I don't know. Litton has seemed better to me. I know he threw the interception, but I feel like that's an interception that a lot of quarterbacks have thrown. Kind of similar to one that the MVP threw last year, right?
One that Brady threw in the end zone against the Chiefs in the AFC title game when Ragland jumped up and got that. Yeah.
So, I don't know. He was just, I don't think there's a huge separation between the two, but to me, I think Litton looks a little bit better.
What do you think?
I think we need to factor in the family friendship.
The last name?
Yes,
that's a factor.
I think there's a connection there. There is. There's a personal connection between Andy Reid and Papa Shermer, right? And so let's put it out there. It's there, and Shermer was in with the thirds, the threes today, and Linton the fourths, and that wasn't the case last year. I mean, Chase Linton was the third-team quarterback last year.
Although, does it say something that Kyle Shermer only got a quarter and Chase Linton got a half?
Maybe it could. I tell you what, I think the position played well tonight. The quarterback position played well. I didn't see what the passing numbers were, but they had the one interception.
291 yards total.
Total yards or passing yards?
Total passing yards.
Okay.
3 TDs, 1 interception.
And Mahomes,
two of the TDs from Litton.
Yeah, Mahomes didn't have one of the touchdowns. So I thought the position played well. And whoever isn't the guy between Shermer and Litton, I think either one of those guys could be a 2 or 3 somewhere else.
Yeah.
3 and 4 here, but 2 and 3 somewhere else.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. As we're looking at position battles, the second tight end position has been kind of one of the more important battles throughout camp, but mainly between Blake Bell, Deion Yelder. Maybe thought John Lovett could be in the mix, maybe as a third tight end, practice squad guy. He, by the way, has a separated right shoulder. That's what Andy Reid said in the press conference afterward, but they were, able to pop it back in?
Yeah, he said they put it back in. So I don't know what that does to a separated shoulder. Is it no longer separated? I don't.
I mean, technically no, but do you still want to play on it? Probably not.
No, I mean, I gathered. I can't remember Andy's exact words after that, but clearly it was not fully resolved. I mean, it just. But he seemed to think, it'll work out.
Right.
I don't know.
So we'll remove John Lovett from the conversation, but mainly between Blake Bell, Deion Yelder. Blake Bell had an early catch. Deion Yelder then recovered a muffed punt later in the game, and it seems like
and caught a touchdown
pass. It seems like this tight end position battle is going to come down to not only who can operate well in the offense as the second tight end, but who is more valuable on special teams. Blair, did you get a sense that one guy has separated himself from the other?
I don't know if that can happen in one game, but Yelder played well. I mean, really noticeably well. You get in the end zone and then you recover a muff punt. You've shown up in the stat sheet and you're going to look good on film, and I think that bodes well for him. So, and Blake Bell had the nice catch. He had a drop also. I think it was not Shermer, Henne. I think he dropped a Henne pass in the first quarter. So I know John Lovett had a nice catch too, but then left the game. And was on the injury report. So, no, I think we're going to just need to see more from both of those players at that position. And but we've talked about this. Demetrius Harris was a valuable piece to the Chiefs that we all sort of laughed at last year, just because he dropped the ball a lot. But he was a great special teams player, and Yelder or Blake Bell will have to be a great special teams player. But I will say this. I think both of them are good enough that the Chiefs don't have to go outside to look for another tight end.
You sounded like Eric Bieniemy there for a second.
I thought that exactly,
say
but I will say this.
and I did. Not only will I did.
You're better. You're out Eric Bieniemy. It's interesting. Robert asks, "Is Lovett going to be an IR stash like Pringle was?" You know what? Now that he brings it up, I don't know how serious a separated shoulder is,
right,
but
I don't either.
Right.
I think that's now a possibility in the way that it wasn't before, obviously, when he wasn't hurt. But yeah, I mean, I think keep that on the radar, and that's something that we'll follow up with Andy to see how he's developing, because he is a weapon they really, really liked throughout the offseason and the preseason. So
did Andy say in the post game that they popped it back in?
Yeah, he did.
How did he say? Did he just say, they just popped it back in?
Pretty much that.
Just like that. Yeah.
And then he said, that was good.
Yeah, what's the exact wording?
We were able to put it back in. That was good. So
well, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's good that his shoulder's not separated. It's a good thing.
But they do like the stash. They do like the IR stash.
They do, and
Yeah.
we have our first candidate for the IR stash. Looking at, do you guys have any thoughts on the tight end battle?
I have none.
Zero, not a one.
I think
Sam.
they're going to be fine either way. I think both those guys can play, and you're in a system that brings out the best. I think whatever.
Second tight end is on the roster.
Both have
right.
been
They're gonna
NFL
be
experience.
Right.
Right. I think that position overall is better this year than it was last year.
Yeah.
It has potential.
Wow,
to be,
I'd say that is a bold
has
statement.
the potential to be.
Okay, I can see it. Looking at some of the other offensive position battles that are going on, wide receiver depth. We know that they have a lot of really good top shelf wide receivers, and really from bottom to top, that's a super strong position group. There are a lot of young guys battling for a spot down toward the end of the depth chart. Guys like Garrett Dieter, David Grayson, Byron Pringle,
Marcus Kemp.
Cody Thompson. Any of those, and Garrett Dieter didn't play. He's still been dealing with a back issue that's gone on for 2 weeks now, some back spasms. So that's kind of surprising that that's continued to keep him out. You guys have any thoughts on these wide receivers and the way that they played today? Anybody jump out? Anybody seem like they are making moves?
I didn't see anything that made me think anybody's staking any ground one way or another.
Right.
So I don't know. I think we'll need to see more. Did Pringle drop a ball, or he was targeted 3 times and has no catches? But I don't
He had one of those that was intercepted.
Well,
right?
didn't he have the one that the interception was overturned?
Yes.
That
for
was
defensive
him. He
pass
didn't. You know,
interference.
it was a little underthrown,
Okay.
and he couldn't get to it. Look, end of the second quarter, looked like the Bengals had an interception. It got overturned because it was in the final 2 minutes. It was an Andy didn't need to challenge it. It was automatically a review, and. Isn't that going to be a lot of fun?
Thank God for that.
Isn't that going to be fun this year?
How long was the game tonight? 3 hours and 20 minutes or something?
20-some, yeah.
Yeah, but automatic reviews in the final 2 minutes of the first and second halves.
It's a blast.
Not down with that. Not down with that. All because the officials blew the call in the NFC Championship game last year.
Now we're being punished.
Yep.
We're all being punished.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought this was interesting. I'm looking at the pass receiving leaders. Kaiser, Bell, and Yelder are the top 4 there. All 3 tight ends, which I think just speaks to the way that they use the tight end group in Andy Reid's system. And
well, they're safe. They're safe.
Exactly.
They're usually open on something short and high percentage stuff and reliable, pass receivers. So not a surprise.
And Cody Thompson had caught the ball both times he was targeted, had 19 receiving yards. Another guy on that list, McCole Hardman, he and Darwin Thompson, to me, stole the show on the offensive side of the ball when they got in there. Darwin Thompson ran through some tackles. We saw him move really well in space. McCole Hardman on the jet sweep, a play that we've seen at training camp quite a few times. I think that's the one where he ended up getting pancaked the first time that they ran it in 11-on-11 the other day. That did not happen this time. He scored his first-ish NFL touchdown, 17 yards. What were you guys most impressed with by these rookies and what they were doing tonight?
Well, Thompson, I mean, the obvious stuff is the obvious stuff, and that's the important stuff. He can play. I mean, he's a guy that you think can get yards that other backs can't, like some extra yards. You're running through a linebacker at one point, and then he kind of drugged a defensive lineman for a couple yards. But he also, and he's talked in camp about pass protection being a challenge or something that he's trying to get better at because he didn't do much of it in college. He had a couple really nice snaps in pass protection too. I know maybe we're getting too far into the weeds, but that's the kind of stuff that can get you on the roster, and help your career. You do that in special teams. But there was a play, and I wish I could remember who the defensive lineman was, but he was his number was in the 90s, big guy, and he's coming right in, and Thompson just took out his legs.
Yeah.
Was that Jermaine Pratt, a linebacker? Pratt was definitely underneath on
Pratt was
one
the
play.
guy who he broke from the
Okay,
jacket.
that's what it
ran
was.
through him.
That's what
But
it
I
was.
remember that. He put a lineman down with a low block.
It's a really nice play.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Noticeable. No, he was good. He said after the game that he was a little nervous.
Yeah.
He just wanted to, go out and hit somebody. That's all. Just get going, hit somebody. He wanted to be on the kickoff team so he could run down the field on the first play, and he wasn't, but he really wanted to be. And just, I thought I made him the star of the game. I thought he was the star of the game. Hardman was really good.
But Hardman only had 2 catches, which is
One for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Had a kickoff return though, like was it a 40? Was it a
Something
punt
like
return?
that.
I thought he had a long.
he had a good return, which is something that's going to go a long way. And I mean, he's obviously making the roster, but
It was a
he has
44-yard kickoff.
Yeah,
return.
kickoff
Yeah.
return. Yeah.
That jet sweep stuff, though, man, like on that shovel pass, they're going to have a play, I'm sure, where, one of them, either him or Tyreek, does it and they don't give it to him, and then the other one comes
Yes.
in. I mean, they're going to screw with people.
Well, look
Yeah.
at the 2 guys we're talking about here, Darwin Thompson and McCole Hardman, both just burners, just really, really fast. And I'm not sure when we left last season that I was thinking, boy, this team needs to get faster. But they did. I thought defense is what they needed, and they took care of that too. But this team is fast.
They're so fast.
They really
It's
are.
interesting. So Darwin looks to me like he's maybe a little shorter than Tyreek.
Yeah,
Maybe a little shorter.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But also looks to me like maybe he's kind of the walking muscle that Tyreek is. I mean,
1,000%.
just that same. I don't know if it's quite the same build. I think Tyreek's maybe a little more powerfully built, actually.
Yeah, maybe.
But-
maybe I'm sure they're listed. Darwin's listed at 5'8",
5'8".
and he said 195. That
Yeah.
seemed generous to me.
Listings, and Tyreek is listed as 5'10", which is just not true.
I have some thoughts on that.
No.
Yeah.
It's not.
And so I would say Tyreek's probably 5'8"-ish and Darwin's 5'6", 5'7"-ish.
I'd say that.
Yeah, that
And
makes
in their
sense.
cleats.
In their cleats. Yeah.
5'8",
yeah,
5'10".
Yeah, right.
And that's what really matters.
But the bigger point is the speed, and also there's been a bit of an Andy. They seem to like having short guys.
Or willing to take short guys.
Willing to take maybe is a better point. But is there a specific advantage you can think of that someone of that height has? I mean, is the low center of gravity, is that something that's
I think with a
a
running back, it
documentable
can be.
thing?
Yeah, it's a disadvantage, I think, as a receiver.
Yeah, it has to be overall. as a
Tyreek makes up for
receiver.
that with a ridiculous vertical and just a natural ability to kind of high point the ball. Because it is weird, because he's not 5'10", you're right. But it's weird that a 5'8", 5'9" guy is so good at jump balls. I mean, it's like a Randy Moss quality almost.
Yeah.
Did they know that about him when they drafted him?
No.
I don't think they did.
Were,
In fact, I don't think he had that when they drafted him,
Yeah,
or
they were-
the ability to convert it.
Well, I mean, he played a lot of running back
Yeah.
in college. And
From
that-
West Alabama.
Yeah, and the West Alabama coach to his credit was like, that one's on me.
My bad.
But I think for a running back, I think it can be, I think helpful, but if not helpful, certainly not the problem that it is at other positions. Because I just, always think about Barry Sanders. And, nobody else is going to be Barry Sanders. But I think there's something to that. The low center, you can be a little bit quicker, a little bit more wiggly,
Yeah,
as some would say.
By the way,
That's-
Andy Reid was asked about Tyreek's vertical before the game. So I think on Thursday was the last time we
Yeah,
talked to them.
yeah.
And he said his vertical is ridiculous. He would have been a great center fielder. He can track the ball, and then he's fearless at going up and getting it. He's got a real healthy vertical.
He really does. I think the thing that, and we're talking about Tyreek Hill, he didn't do anything in the game tonight. But
No, I had to ask you if he had lined up because we didn't take it.
But the one thing that
play-by-play.
surprised us when we started to see his career unfold was how good his hands were, because nobody knew that he could catch. He was making catches that didn't seem like he should, or you didn't know he had possessed that skill.
Yeah.
The good hands, and so maybe Hardman and Thompson have that as well. They both. They weren't in a position to make difficult catches tonight. Both touchdowns came on short jet sweep for Hardman and basically a handoff, and it was just a short. Thompson had a circle route out of the backfield, had to beat the linebacker, and sprint into the end zone. So just short passes, but it'll be fun to see these guys in the next few preseason games and see how they're used and see if they, will go deep to, especially to Hardman, use the speed that way.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think, will Patrick play the whole quarter next week?
Who knows? Can't trust Andy now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think anybody on that team is trusting Andy when he says this will be your playing time.
By the way, so Andy's specific words the other day were he's going to play a quarter.
Yes.
Which was
And
counter
Chad
to
gets
everything
the
he's ever
second.
done.
I'll tell you what, I think the Mahomes keep changed his perspective on the game tonight. When Mahomes kept the ball and went down at the 1, and we're all going, well, what is he doing?
So I'm saying Andy's joking, but maybe he was so deadpan he really wasn't joking.
I think that changes perspective. Again, I think that to me the bigger question was why didn't Henny play more?
Right.
Did he really wanted to see Shermer and Linton?
I guess. I think that gives us, again, the clue that this is a really, even though it is the least important position battle on the team.
Yeah, well, and Andy thinks in terms of this too, though. He thinks in terms of other people seeing both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Right?
He does.
I
Talks
mean,
about it all the
Good
time.
point.
Yeah.
Get him on tape.
Yeah. So I think we've covered a lot of the offense. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. This is probably the most important transition, transformation, whatever that we were looking forward to seeing. And like we alluded to earlier, kind of got cheated out of it when the starters came out after just 2 plays. But Sam, you wrote an entire column about the defense, so give us the Cliff Notes version.
In full disclosure, I took 2 detours, a Patrick Mahomes detour in the column, of course, and then another one to rip the NFL for these reviews. But
Okay.
there's way too many.
Well done.
There's just way too many. I thought that, the first preseason, all that, the disclaimers, but those disclaimers are particularly, important with this because the biggest change on the defense is the coordinator and the scheme. And first preseason game, any preseason game, you're not going to do a lot of the scheming and all that stuff. And I think one thing that Steve Spagnuolo, that it's going to be different this year. Bob Sutton was way on one side of the spectrum, but hardly ever did stunts.
Right.
Wasn't a lot of blitzing with him. It was just beat the guy in front of you. And I think Spags is going to do a lot of that stuff, and he's going to be aggressive. So I think we'll see more of that. But I thought that there was enough to be encouraged about. If it's kind of an ink blot test, the defense tonight. I think if you wanted to go negative, 14 plays, 75 yards, couldn't stop them. It looked very Sutton-ish, all that stuff. But I thought that they did have a turnover that I was kind of surprised that got overturned, but whatever. But the players are better. They just are. It is and kind of by a long shot, And I think that if you think about how the safeties are going to help the corners and that defensive line depth is real, and that's important. And I thought Derek Nottie, first preseason, whatever, but Derek Nottie was great in the middle. He was moving men in front of him.
He did what they want him to do.
Yes.
What they want him to do, and what they was drafted to do, but couldn't do in that defense last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I also thought it was important that, however important something can be here, but Breland Speaks and Tano Passanio are 2 guys that have been talked about a lot. That Breland Speaks, I think we all agreed that Breland Speaks will be the one that benefits the most from the scheme change. It fits who he is a little bit more than that 3-4. And Tano, who was borderline dead to the coaching staff,
Lost.
Last year, they've been talking him up. Those guys got sacks on back-to-back plays. Little stuff like that I think matters. I was encouraged as much as you can be from this.
Yeah, Brooke and I were talking about during the game that you're right. Speaks is the one when Spagnuolo was hired and we learned they were going to go to the 4-3. He's the person we looked at and said he's the one who's going to really benefit from this. Yeah. But as training camp has unfolded, we've noticed Tano Passanio, coaches talking him up, and him getting work with first team defense, and he started tonight because Frank Clark wasn't there. And there's just a difference in him this year. Look, are they talking him up to trade him? I don't know. But he fits the profile, I think, of the defensive lineman that the Chiefs want in this defense, a guy with great size and some athletic ability. And I think Tano was among those players who was lost in the Bob Sutton defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm kind of stoked for him. He's a second-round draft pick. You know, you've got to get something from your second-round draft pick. And I think the Chiefs are. I think they're serious about him as a good player, as a difference-making player. Time will tell. He did have the sack, and you're right. He and Speaks was the best defensive series that they had because they had the 2 sacks and then the interception in the half. Was it Herb Miller who,
It was
on a
Herb
Hail
Miller.
Mary, but ran it back almost 70 yards or so. That was a really nice series. Of course, it was 2s against 2s at the time, but it was still, it was still a good series.
Tano, I talked with him after the game, and he's never been the most talkative guy, but you could tell like he was just excited the way that he played. He said this is the best performance this is the best game he feels like he's had in the pros. It's also his first ever sack, which when you think back to the other one that he had that was close was in Chicago last year in the preseason when he got flagged for what was on Chase Daniel for roughing the passer. When that was an emphasis. And it seemed like that kind of derailed his whole season. He was building momentum, has this great play, and then the flag comes out, and then I remember Justin Houston getting really angry about it afterward. He went off for a while about it, but it seems like the combination of this new defense, he's being used a lot out there in a lot of different packages on special teams. Chris Jones started out his availability by really praising Tano for everything that he was doing, saying like, man, like if they wanted him to go out and play tight end on the offense, he could do that too. Which, hey, maybe they need him to do that. But he was so proud of Tano. He's like, I'm gonna have to sit down right now and just give him a little bit of credit. He didn't sit down, but he did like preach about him. I mean, legitimately preach for a good 45 seconds. So I think the guys in the locker room are just as happy for Tano that he's finally getting some time. Because you remember last year we talked about how maybe we need to do a story on if he feels like he's gonna get cut or if he feels like he's lost his place. He was inactive, I think, for some of the games there right at the end, and he looked kind of lost.
There wasn't a place for him.
No.
On last year's team, and that seems to be changing.
Right. I mean, he started tonight. There's clearly a place for him on this year's team. And
when you see him, I mean, it really does stand out how long he is. I mean, and Andy was emphasizing how many balls he's batted down in practice and stuff, but he's the tallest guy on the team at 6'7", and I think that's legit.
And he's also
Fisher, I guess, is 6'7" also, but I think Tano's longer.
So we also asked him, he said, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm playing at 290 now. And we were like, well, what were you playing at before? And I think he said around 270. And he said he was finally able to gain weight because he went fake vegan, where he eats vegetables and everything, but also eats seafood. And he said his body finally got used to that, and now he could gain weight while being on that diet. So I thought that was interesting, that he felt like he needed to bulk up and that was helping him out there playing so many different roles.
Speaking of bulked up, at least according to this preseason roster, who do you think is the heaviest guy on the team? This surprises me. He was not the heaviest guy a couple of years ago. There's a hint.
Offense or defense?
Offense, I should say.
Laurent Duvernay-Tardif.
Oh, nice hint. That was good. I like
Offense.
321.
that. Bigger than Mitchell Schwartz?
Bigger than Mitchell Schwartz. Mitchell coming in at 320.
Beat him by a pound.
Crushed him. He just crushed him.
But I mean, remember, LDT was probably under 300 when he came here. I would guess more like 260, 270. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I think you're measuring him Canadian weight.
That's true.
It's obviously different. One other position group let's look at on the defensive side of the ball, the cornerbacks. Is the situation as dire as it seems in training camp, and how important is the Mo Claiborne signing going to be, having evaluated what the corners did out there tonight?
So on that first possession, when it's ones and ones, Bashad Breeland got beat pretty badly. It's hard. We never know the assignments, right? It looked for a second that he might have thought there was a safety.
Somebody behind him.
Yeah. I don't know if that was his fault, or the safety's fault or whatever, but it wasn't just he didn't get beat plainly by a move. That's worth pointing out. And then there was a 26, I think, yard pass down the right sideline on Charvarius Ward. I thought it was pretty good coverage. That ball was
It
thrown.
was.
It was
perfect.
tight. It was a sideline pass, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It was pretty
I
good
didn't look at
coverage.
the height of the receiver, but there was enough of a height difference
Yeah.
that Dalton put the ball in the only place it could be caught without Ward making a good play
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, it
Ward
was
was right there.
Perfect. Sort of reminiscent of that Seattle game when Ward was
Yes.
giving up some passes with really good coverage. And it's just, Andy Dalton is not Russell Wilson. But anyway, I think that Mo Claiborne is important. I thought it was a really smart, kind of obvious signing. So obvious that the dumb newspaper guy was going to write that they should sign him. But I don't think he's like a great player. There's a reason that he was available at this time. He'll be suspended for the first 4 games. But he's a guy that has some experience at least. And if he can just be, here's how I look at it. If he can be what they thought Emerson could be, be what they thought who's the other, Scandrick could be, then that's an important piece here,
Right.
Because they need depth, and I still think they're going to add one more. I do.
That makes sense. By the way, one guy who was a corner now moved, Tremont Smith. We didn't see him a ton tonight in the offense, but he was involved in special teams.
Returned a couple of kicks.
Yeah. Did he do enough? Can he make this team as just a kick return specialist?
The more I think about it, the more I don't think so. I just don't. Darwin Thompson had such a good game and made such a good impression tonight. There are more preseason games to go, but look, Tremont Smith came in after Caldwell and the other running back, the James Madison running back.
James Williams.
So he was last on the depth chart at running back, and you're going to do more than return kicks. However, he is a gunner on the coverage teams, and that's no small thing for the Chiefs. So, but again, the more I consider it, the more I don't think so.
Or you're not convinced.
Yeah, I'm not cutting him yet, and he's not being cut yet. So, but I don't know.
But it's possible.
It is. The fact that they moved him away from a position of need to a position of, plenty, suggests that he has to outperform people at running back, and it's going to be difficult for him to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But he has speed, and we
He
know
does.
Andy loves speed.
They got a lot of it on this team.
Yes, they do.
And let's end on the one thing we haven't talked about, Vahe, is your column that this team has the most. What's the song? I thought I was going to get you to sing.
You wanted the anticipation
Yeah,
thing
please.
again. Well, I guess the point of what I was trying to write about was that between Mahomes and the closest finish they've had to a Super Bowl since the last time they went to a Super Bowl, I think you can say that anticipation is through the roof, if there were a roof here. And I don't know what we make of the 69,813 paid attendance. It wasn't that.
Means
I
that
thought it was a good crowd.
But it was a good
Yeah, it
crowd
was,
for a
and if they
preseason crowd.
if they sold nearly 70,000 tickets for this, then
Yeah.
that
pretty
reflects.
good.
It was warm. It was a hot night. It reflects interest.
And you got into this, and we've gotten into it a little bit a few times. Sam, by writing about Patrick's autograph signing the other day, you and the things to look for about sort of the hysteria up in St. Joe, and we've seen things. You guys have seen it more recently than I have, but cars parked in places that they haven't needed lots before up there. And I think it will depend on how many sessions, but they'll probably break this record, or maybe the number
yeah.
won't be.
I think it's going to
They
happen.
may already
So
have broken up.
It all adds up to this sort of thing that I think Mahomes makes you believe in them, not just hope, right? Like, and he'll always give you hope, but that he makes it sort of a tangible thing. Like, if this defense is just a little better, then the formula is you ought to go to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, that's not going to be that simple, but in your mind's eye, that's what you figure. And I think a lot of fans feel like that. And I think we probably feel like that to some degree. I mean, you can't ever think somebody is or isn't going to do this, right? But you can sure say that they can put themselves in position to. So that's a little bit what I was trying to get into.
I'd like to know how many people liked Patrick Mahomes and the high V commercial that apparently ran several times during the game tonight.
It was pretty good.
We were taking a gander at it post game or something. It looked like the whole theme of it was him ruining other people's barbecues with throwing the football around. I couldn't quite tell what the sound
fine
was.
with
But making it good by delivering groceries.
Yeah.
Oh, then he showed up to replace stuff. Did he really?
Right.
It was all about the groceries. That was kind of the point. Yeah.
But was it well done? Did it hit the mark? I wonder. I'd like to know what people who saw it 10 times tonight thought. Because I have a feeling we'll be seeing it a lot.
We'll be seeing Patrick Mahomes on our televisions a lot, not just on the field.
Many other times.
Hy-Vee, Oakley, Essentia, Good Sense subs. I don't know. You could go on and on and on.
Tickets for less.
Tickets for less.
Yep.
He's going to be everywhere.
Is there a saturation point coming with him, an oversaturation point?
Maybe outside of Kansas City, but I don't think that you can hit that mark in Kansas City. I mean, it's going to be like when Zion was on ESPN all the time, and if you hated Duke, like me, it was really frustrating to see all the time. So if you hate the Chiefs, you're probably really frustrated that you see Patrick Mahomes everywhere. But here, I don't think you can get enough of him.
Yeah, probably true.
All right. Well, on that note, we started with the quarterback. We're going to end with the quarterback. We'll be back sometime soon. I assume we'll have at least one Facebook Live from St. Joe. And then at the very least, we will be in Pittsburgh for the next preseason game a week from now. When the Chiefs take on the Steelers. So, until then, he's Blair Kirchhoff, he's Sam Mellinger, he's Vahe Gregorian. I'm Kansas City Star Chiefs beat writer Brooke Pryor, and that is it from us for Arrowhead. Thanks for tuning in.
Check out the most complete Chiefs coverage on kansascity.com, facebook.com/RedZoneExtra, the Red Zone Extra app, and in the print editions of the Kansas City Star. Links to the stories can also be found in the show notes. Thanks to our sponsor, Big O Tires, and thanks, Kathy, for putting the show together. We'll be back Monday with another edition of Sports Beat KC. Now let's hear from Josh Caldwell, the Lee Summit product, who scored the game's final touchdown on Saturday.
Man, it's nothing like running out there in Arrowhead Stadium with all those Chiefs fans out there. We had quite a few people show up for the preseason, but it was just no other feeling like it.
How many times have you been in the stadium just as a fan?
3 or 4 times. I wasn't able to go to a lot of Chiefs games growing up, but I was in here. The last time I was in here was 2 years ago in the playoff game versus Tennessee Titans. I said, man, it'd be cool to play on that field. But here I am now.